And without further ado, I would like to introduce you to Robert Tusa. Robert, correct me if I say something wrong.
Not the worst I've heard.
Okay. Like I said, voestalpine is our partner for many years. Robert is the IT manager from voestalpine, from the steel division. So I understand there are different divisions, but you are basically looking after steel division. And he's big evangelist when it comes to test automation. So I'm handing it over to you.
Thank you very much.
Stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Today, I am privileged to be able to talk to you about something near and dear to my heart, as Peter said, that is test automation. And I would like to start with a short introduction video about what is the voestalpine company. So you all have a baseline about where I'm working at.
voestalpine is a globally leading steel and technology group. With 50,000 employees at 500 locations and companies, voestalpine is present in 50 countries and on all 5 continents. In the business year 2021-22, voestalpine achieved the best results in the company's history. With know-how and innovative solutions, we're setting a sustainable course for a better and safer future.
voestalpine, one step ahead.
So this is our claim, one step ahead. Again, nice to meet you. I'm Robert. Again, I'm part of the steel division. As Peter said, we have 4 divisions in total. We are the largest one and are situated in Linz. And today I'm like to talk to you about our journey in test automation, how we started, how it's going. And I'd like to start with a short outline of what we're going to look at today. So I'm going to talk about manual testing versus automated testing. Of course, there are some things that are not new for you. And I'd like to talk a bit about our reasons from switching or from focusing on automated testing even more. Then I would like to talk about the prerequisites that we had to go through and to fulfill in order to start using test automation a bit more efficiently. And in the end, I'd like to also talk about how to choose the right tool set for the job. So let's start with manual testing, what I like to call artisanal testing. It's carried out manually, of course. It takes a lot of time for people who know it's very time intensive. The coordination of testers can be complex, especially in an organization such as we have, where many people from the business are involved in testing. It can be slow at the times, so you have to wait until the person from the business has the time to test certain functionality before you get your answer if the feature was implemented correctly or not. But on the other hand, it is adaptive. So a tester can adapt to certain test conditions without having to rewrite or adapt an automated test, for instance. It works reasonably well within short terms, all small projects with a very tightly defined scope. But of course, you know, it binds resources, as Peter perhaps mentioned in his presentation. We have a release strategy based on major releases, such as many companies of our scale. And this means that our testers, or the people from the business that actually do the testing, have a high workloads for very small predefined periods. And that is one complaint that we sometimes hear about, how they do not have time to actually do the things they were hired to do because they have to do the testing. So this is one aspect of it, and also the coordination. You know, which tests have to be done when, by whom, with which test data. It's not an easy task to do, and we have people that specialize in coordinating exactly those testers from the business. And of course, it has an impact on the daily business. Time that could have been used creating value is now used doing testing. So another aspect is that the number of test cases continually grows with the projects that deliver into our production system. Each iteration or each release, there are more manual tests that have to be considered. And the question is it really sustainable to go on like this when you have hundreds and hundreds of manual tests that you have to organize? And the answer for us was no. And so we thought about, okay, what can we do? So we looked at automated testing. Of course, one big advantage in automated testing is that the scripts don't get bored. And the scripts do not lose focus. And the scripts are reusable. And you get quick results and early feedback from the features. Also, you can achieve very high coverage. And most importantly, it frees up resources from the business. So people can go on doing their thing that they were actually hired to do. Of course, test automation has higher upfront costs in terms of cost and effort. And it is essential for long-term success. So if we want to keep it sustainable, to have good, reliable business applications, then we need to look into test automation. But how can it be done? When I first started, we were a pretty small scale team that looked at the test automation topic, and we also had to make do with the tools that were at our disposal. And in this case, it was CPTA, component-based test automation from the SAP system. And one of the challenges was to define a clear process on test automation. How do we get our test cases? Who do we get them from? Who says what we need to test? How do we choose the right amount of tests to do? You know, it's kind of a challenge. Sometimes it can be a challenge. And what is pivotal, or what was pivotal for us, is to bring the business on board very early. Talk to the business, tell them that you're there. And this is also a challenge sometimes. And you need to find allies in the business. Of course, there will always be people who say, I don't need that, or this costs too much, or we don't have time for that. Isn't it easier to just tell someone to quickly look at this functionality and then tell us if it works or not? Yeah. And this was one important aspect of how we're doing it. And of course, we had, and we still have sometimes growth pains from the small team. For instance, there are things that are or were not obvious, at least for me at the beginning. Firstly, that you have to maintain the scripts. So you have to use resources to maintain your tests. You have to maintain the test case because functionalities change. So the things that you have to test also change within the system. And you have updates on the system under test, which means that automatically found fields or unique identifiers can also change. And we can sing a song about that in our test automation team. And of course, there's the creation of new test cases, which also takes time and effort. And is it okay? I think the ball just dropped. Or at least it says.
No, it's
fine. Okay. So what did it take for us to get ready to go beyond CPTA for test automation? It was the retirement of CPTA. SAP, of course, said, yeah, it's about time you look at something else. And of course, the next big thing for us was S/4HANA. We had the go live early this year, and it managed to go out without a hitch. So I'm very impressed with the performance of the people that did that. especially for a very large and complex system such as we have. And we had the opportunity to use TTA. It's also a product based on the Tricentis solution on Tosca, which was part of our enterprise license agreement, and which helped us start to migrate the CVTA scripts towards Tosca. So we could use a tool right then and there to start migrating towards our path to Tosca. And what I would like to say is that everything is possible with a great team. Thank you very much. Some of you are sitting here today, and we've had a lot of challenges, and especially the change from the change to S/4HANA was quite challenging, and of course the ongoing change to Tosca scripts is also quite challenging. But the team is the most important factor if you want to succeed in creating efficient test automation, sustainable test automation. Yeah, and after we did some conversion of our tests with TTA, we thought it would be good to look a bit outside the box, or what more can we do? Because of course, SAP isn't the only system that is used at voestalpine. The first requirement from the business was end-to-end tests. Of course, we don't use only SAP, we use Salesforce and every other application that is also known and widely used. And we wanted to have a tool with which we could achieve a very high coverage of our tests, and where we have the potential to really implement tests quicker. And here's an anecdote, like before with the old testing solution with CVTA, we really had problems keeping up with the demand for new tests, because the maintenance of the tests used up so many resources that we didn't really have the time to listen to the business, what new test cases they need. And implementation was also quite complex and took a lot of time. The troubleshooting took a lot of time after each patch. And the coverage was good, decent, but we could do better. And modularity and reusability is also a big part, because if we put in the effort to create the tests for our test automation, then we want them to be as modular, as versatile, and as reusable as possible, so we can get the most value out of the automated tests. And this we also achieved with a switch to Tosca. And the efficient maintenance, and I can say the maintenance is much more efficient with Tosca, as I have been told by the test engineers, and as I have seen myself. And of course, happy test engineers are also an important factor, because using tools that are not really efficient or suited for the test automation task that you have in mind can become very frustrating with time, especially if the workload becomes more, and especially if if the tool doesn't do exactly what you want it to do, and you have to fight it to actually get the result that you want. So the last important step is the time to test. As I said, with our formal tool with CVTA, there was a lot of delay between the initial requirement from business and the time that we could say, okay, we now have a test that you can execute. And now this has dramatically changed. And this had also prompted the business to be more interested in us and to say, there is a possibility that we can do automated tests and we can improve something. Please tell us more, was basically the reaction from the business. And yes, this is perhaps for me the most important factor in all of our journey up until now. The vision, of course, is to become part of a fully integrated DevOps system. We're not there yet, but we would like to be, and we think that the tools that Tricentis are giving us are the way to go in the future. Questions?
Yeah, we might have also some questions coming from the online session, but go ahead. Feel free to ask in German.
How are we have you been using Tosca for the automation? How far advanced are you already? Like, how much coverage do you already reach your automation? Or is it basically still in the version?
Yes, we have been using TTA for, I don't know, correct me, 1.5 years, or is it?
Yeah, almost.
Almost. And Tosca, we went for full licensing only recently. Our test coverage is, so we look at it from covering the most business critical aspects of our application. So when a new system update goes live, we have all of the test coverage that we need in order to ensure that all the processes, the critical processes needed to do the main core business are there. So this is part of the automated testing right now. Of course, we would like to expand further, but we have a quite decent coverage, I would say.
And a follow-up question, which is more interesting to me because I've seen other client, other projects. On your horizon, are you already seeing the return of investment? Are you already at a stage where you can see that the automation actually helped you to be more efficient, have the people actually do their stuff instead of manual? Have you already achieved this part, or is this also on the horizon still?
For me, I can already see a definite improvement, especially in the time it takes to implement automated tests and new automated tests on the business. So for them, of course, it's a nice added bonus that they don't have to do clicky anymore. And this allowed us to actually go faster from the initial idea to the test to something we called scripts, like the Drehbuch, we call it in German, to the actual test, to actually having something that is runnable and implemented. I have seen very, very high improvements with this tool. And on the horizon, we want to reduce the number of manual testers as much as possible, and the business also wants that because they have seen that it really takes time and resources. And with this approach, we are sure that we can go in this direction.
How many test cases give? It's okay, that's considered a last size. If it's out,
it's a bit difficult because what we call a test case is actually a collection of many different test steps that vary in complexity and length. So we can have dozens of tests under one test case. So I cannot give you a number, to be honest, because it wouldn't be representative. What I can say is that. Sorry?
execution time.
Execution time. That would be my last resort.
We spent almost half the bit of one execution of one test system. We ran it on 2 test systems, and it took on 5 virtual machines almost 5 or 6 hours. So 6, 5.
Yep.
5, 30 hours.
I would have said 4, but
Yes. Just replace CPTA tests, or did you already extend your test cases?
we did both. We have a backlog which is now almost done with old CPTA tests that we chose to re-implement in Tosca, and at the same time, because the system worked so well for us and we had very, very quick results, we said, okay, we can take on new cases much faster than we had before. And so we do new test cases directly in Tosca, and also we still have a very small backlog of old CPTA cases.
Do you have any sort of idea roughly about the change of escape rates as to what went into production and was discovered in production sort of before and after?
I don't really have the statistics, to be honest. I can't really give you an information. Yes.
Is there anything you would do differently? You've been automating with Tosca for the last year and a half, is there something you would change if you have a time?
Yes, I would start with TTA sooner because
now you need to give them a discount. You know? That's the conversation.
That is the only thing I would have liked to know about TTA sooner. That's the only thing I would do differently. And if any of you are in the situation, please check if you have the access rights for it, because at least for us, it worked wonders.
There's actually something, if I may, Martin, feel free, or Helmut to step in, because for me, it was also kind of interesting information. So usually large clients, SAP clientele, they do already have the enterprise support license.
Yes.
They just don't know actually the TTA
Yes.
is there.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes.
And yeah, you could save basically for the first year and a half, you could save
Yes.
all those costs on the license.
That's exactly what we did. And then we outgrew TTA and we said, okay, we have to take the dive and go fully licensed.
And when I checked some pictures, and correct me, you know probably more. Actually, it says that TTA supports all SAP products.
Yes.
It doesn't matter if it is Ariba or it's S/4HANA or anything else. It actually supports all the SAP products.
Yes.
It doesn't matter whether it's running on GUI or Fiori.
Exactly. Yes. Yes.
So that sounds that you're really satisfied with Tosca.
Yes.
So I assume you had a proper base, which means proper written test cases, so that a
Yes.
test automation engineer can take it and automate it. Because I experience with my customers, it's like really big companies. It's also a huge pain. They say we have so much need for it, but we don't have the time to write a test. Nobody has ever written them. So yeah, in the matter of SAP, there is the other, of course, it's also a kind of opportunity to quickly translate the workflows to the automation engineers. But for web application, that's the real issue. So I think that's for getting started in automation, you need to have done your homework. Yes. Obviously, you had a pleasure.
Yes, and what I can perhaps give you is we gave them Word templates at first, where there are bullet points with like a checklist sort of. What do they need to do to describe a test case so that we can implement it? And more recently, we started doing video recordings. So we get the people on the videos, and they should just show us what they're doing. And then we can use that as a basis for automating the test.
Yeah, it's a good question, and sort of like I won't brag about it, but we have some clients that are also approaching us. Can you automate this? And then it's not just SAP. Yeah? And we actually in the past few days we had to, like, I wouldn't say refuse, but I said, okay, come to us once the script from your perspective is ready, once you have all the data prepared, because often they were coming to us and they said, actually we haven't created a business partner properly. Actually now the interface is down, and I said, okay, write the script, whether it's for document, videos are also fine, I don't mind. But once it is ready, then come to us. Yeah, and you are absolutely right, that's a prerequisite, otherwise it doesn't make sense. You will see some demo from Martin later on, how actually you can shift left activities, even if the whole development is not finished, and AI can help you with that. That will be actually interesting demo, but I'm not saying this is a miracle solution.
You still need to do your homework.
Interface so far anything that cannot be automated? If yes, how you deal with such cases?
I think it's the degree of automation depends on the complexity of the task ahead and the scope of the project. So if we have projects running that are small in scope or that have a very defined boundary, it doesn't make sense to automate the tests needed for that particular process. But if we look at business criticality, how bad would it be if this wouldn't be tested? And up until now, the test cases that were chosen that came to us from business, we could all automate.
Have you measured the impact of your test cases or your business processes?
We actually looked at many variables at the testing process level. We looked at how many test cases we were able to do per month, how many test runs we were able to do per month, and what was the time that we had to invest in maintaining the scripts. And from the business value, it's of course, if our tests don't run and we don't have the results, then the business is very, very twitchy and nervous, and that's basically the impact that we see from them, that they really rely on the results that we give them.
So it depends how much workload they have.
Yes.
Have you had a look into test case design or live compare to identify test cases before you automate them?
No, our process up until now says that, or is designed in such a way that the test cases that we have to do come from the business itself. So the business comes to us and tells us, okay, we would like to cover this specific business case on this specific application. Can you help us? And that is basically the thing that we can do with the resources that we have now. So what we want to try to avoid is to design and build test cases that don't have an impact, but still have to be maintained. And that is a bit of a balance where we're trying to strike.
Do they ever come to you with non-functional ideas? Let's stress the system. Let's pull a couple of outages here and there in the network, see what happens.
Up until now, in the time that I've been there, no, there haven't been that.
Yeah, maybe what I should say, and help me with that, dear Tricentis colleagues. Tosca is not really the ideal tool for performance testing. There is something else which is called NeoLoad. You have other tools also on the market, but basically NeoLoad is probably the tool that you should be looking at if you are concerned about the performance test.
Yeah, maybe if I just make it clear also as here with Tosca. With Tosca, basically you can measure time, but you can see like how long the process takes, but you cannot put in hundreds of users to test if this is capable of handling like the big load of your systems, right? So there is kind of a performance, but not a load testing, right? Stability.
Anything not functional.
Yeah.